at the accreditation framework, what are the changes that are there, and we need to approach strategically accreditation so as to enable the countries to take advantage of the resources, and then we're talking about that project-specific accreditation approach, which, as you know, is a pilot program that the GCF started and that we would love to see African countries engage in. We also mentioned earlier, speaking at the ceremony, of questions of strategy and policy. So we also spend some time in talking about the climate strategies for countries, but also at the regional level. So that will basically be, that's an overview of the topics that we will be discussing. All of that, of course, within the framework of adaptation to climate change. Before we continue our discussions, we would like to just introduce one another. Most of us have seen a few of the people around, but we want to make sure, as we also encountering some new colleagues, that we all know who's around. So let's take a few minutes to introduce ourselves. So we'll give our names, the country that we represent, the organization that we're with, but also say what is it that we're expecting to get from this forum, so that we can, at the end of the forum, have something that we want to do our evaluation against, which will be the expectations that we had. So we'll take a few minutes now for all of us to introduce themselves, and I'm looking at you, Madam, because they will be the first one, and over here the mic, we can go ahead. Thank you so much.
Busy Atafari.
See, in Togo Invest. The topic is the mobilization of the financing. I think that as Togo Invest, I heard that I'm not expecting which way we can also be a candidate, not only accredited candidate, but also to see to mobilize the formation before this accreditation. Thank you.
Je comprends, Dr. Kamaye.
I understand, Dr. Kamaye. We are going to do it synthetic in a nice way, so that what we have to know, Professor Isaac, MDF, Republic Democratic of Congo. The name everyone, I am Ali Dwali, MDF Djibouti. Dr. Kamaye, MDF Niger. I want to see the capacity from this workshop.
So do you the projects that your countries are interested in implementing with GCF funding? Thank you.
Bonjour, moi c'est Sébastien Inge, I'm from Guinea Equatorial, assistant, focal point for climatic transformation and project coordinator, either adaptation or plan for climate. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Brazil. Also, I'm the GNA, planning the GNA from the Climate Fossil. Good morning, I'm Boris Monkolo of Central Africa, focal point. Thank you. I'm Executive Secretary, the General of Green Farm Climate in Guinea. Good morning. I'm Dr. Tonjo Afdoli. I'm the organization in charge of the organization of environment at the level of Ministry of Sustainable Development in Benin. Thank you. This is Dr. Banasu and the assistance of Benin, National Focal Point of Gender and Climate Change. Thank you. My expectations is to see the capacity building to meet the responsibilities to mobilize, contribute to the mobilization
of resources in favor of my country. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Ibrahim Yusuf, Il Komo, and represent the GM of Il Komo.
My name is Lingawushe Dlamini from Eswatini, Ministry of Tourism and Environmental Affairs. I'm from the NDA's office. I'm looking forward to learning more on the accreditation process, as we are also in the country. Thank you.
And also for total front. Good morning, everyone. Joris Talmuda, charging instead of welcoming. Our expectation is to see each of us the capacity building. So we are Deborah, head of series of development of the planification of Avo 1, local focal points of Eco West at the town hall. Good afternoon, everyone. I am from Mali. I'm Zakara. I work on facilitation of and also mobilization of resources in terms of expectations. If I repeat this same expression for infinite, the work of mobilization is a full time now. So we take advantage of these opportunities to build us for but also having a focal main concern emphasis on the resources that we need to update.
Working with SSA and AI, I'm looking forward to hearing more about the specific support needs of all the countries represented. Thank you.
Rocky Yellow, a project analyst, at the Office of Ministry. So my expectation to see the reinforcement of capacities. Administrator of a collectivity of Avo. As an expectation, I would like to see my capacity to be reinforced and also to contribute to the definition of strategies that for which we are here. Thank you so much. Someone assist from Togo. I'm a member for SST. From the research of crypto and for chief of Africa climate change. Students of I expect for this exercise some of the action towards how we access climate finance. So institutions to get accredited by the fund. Thank you. Fashionist and a focal point of for climate. I represent an NGO in terms of expectation, strategic planning, effective strategic planning, and the improvement of process of accreditation. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jean-Philippe Palava. I'm in charge of the program in DGI, Global Growth Institute, with the worldwide growth climate. So my expectation to have more information on the new strategic policies of this DCF. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Balushan Video. I represent the Togolese company for renewable energies. Expectations the same as my previous colleagues to share capacity sharing while not mobilize funds, climate funds for the success of our project. Thank you.
Bonjour à tous.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Karol Chako,
Information.
assistant in monitoring and chart. As an expectation from this forum is to see
Dans le fait, dans l'espace.
is to see so because our countries are suffering from mobilization, climate funds mobilization. So is to see this happen. Thank you.
The terms of expectation, I'm sure to have understanding, just here for me, particularly for those expectations. Thank you.
To look at the Ministry of Environment and energy and the focal point of environment means social employment, resource person. When I work at the regional of agriculture and the food of the COAS in terms of mobilization aspect of climate mobilization funds. This is an asset for us to participate in this forum in order to see not only to see the progress of the different policies that the Great Green Fund is putting into place, but also to share the worries of the region so that together we can see how we can accelerate the mobilization to see and things of direct access because you have difficulties because up to now we don't have a direct access entity. We are working with regional international entities, so we are facing difficulties. Because our priorities do not match with those entities, that is why when we are committed at the beginning, they are said that feel that this is our field of intuition that when we start working, it doesn't move us to wished. So the request is like it's not moving sleepy. So it is a priority for the country. So I would like to see how others try to how do they manage to have this direct access to those entities to facilitate us the work. Thank you. Sandra Fruitus, I'm from Estosto. My expectations is to share experience with my position. I'm conscious that all the political countries around the table have very good experience and mobilization, accreditation. And I would like that this session helped us learn from one another learn from those that are experts, and also support those that are not really that dynamic, but also success in this mobilization that they should not be abandoned. So it is in this solidarity of a sharing experience that help all the participants here so that we can realize our ambitions and also get profit from the exchange that we're going to have during this forum. In this first part, we are going to ask an update for which our ladies that are around the table.
From the Africa Adaptation Initiative, and Ms. Kultum Umari will be able to give us an overview of the recent progress and the alignment with GCF objectives. So Kultum, up to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor once again and giving me an opportunity to give an update of where we are with the Adaptation Initiative. I think before I move that update, I just want to give an overview of the background of AI, for those of you who are not very familiar with it, but I won't take too long with that. But importantly, I would like to remind us that the original mandate we received from the African Union needs to the extent that we, as the Africa Adaptation Initiative, support adaptation in the continent in the context of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Green Climate Fund. So we're very interested for me to hear some of the concerns and some of the expectations from this room around how can we access the Green Climate Fund? How can we get ourselves accredited to the Green Climate Fund? And how to share some of those experiences for countries that have advanced, those that are wanting to advance, and those that are struggling to advance. So the AAI, in that sense, with the support of course, SSA, is helping us provide that platform. And so my expectation, even though I wasn't asked for my expectation, is the moderator, my expectation as well for today is to listen to some of those challenges that many of you are facing and continue to provide this platform, but also address some of those emerging issues that are coming. And we're hearing a lot that many countries want to have direct access. And this is going to be the focus of the AI moving forward. And I'm not sure the presentation is there. I just keep saying next slide, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to do with the presentation. And so as you know that the AI was launched in COP21, it's the head of state initiative, but also to also highlight that every year we are given a renewed mandate to actually support African countries in order to enhance adaptation in the continent in the context of the UNFCCC and the GCF. And even recently, in September 2024, we were given another mandate to support African countries in order to support Africa's sustainable development, like what we are seeing now, examples of sustainability, climate action, and supporting these initiatives. So this is an African initiative for Africa, which is quite unique if you look at other continents in the world. The next slide, please. Institution. We've been able to set up several institutional processes, and our offices have been set up. As you know, we, after giving the mandate, government of Egypt host a proposal to host us as the initiative, and they did host us, and now we actually have a fully operationalized office in Cairo. By COP29, by last year, it was fully operational. We even had a meeting there to fully institutionalize the initiative. But we also have another office in Rabat. And the reason is that we are hosted by the fiduciary is UCLGA, United Cities and Local Governments, and the financial office, really, or the head office rather, is in Rabat. And so to ensure that finances and administrative functions run smoothly, we also have a smaller office in Rabat, but our head office is in Cairo. We had recently in Azerbaijan, we had our third steering committee meeting, which also approved and endorsed our work plan moving forward. And just to remind those who are not familiar with who steering committee members are, this was instituted by the AU, a decision from the AU, which we have a political champion. And it has been the presidential champion, which is the president of Gabon, who provides leadership of AI, and the steering committee is composed of the and some secretariat, which is at the ministerial level, the Pan-African Climate Justice, which is a representative of civil society, because we have heard that the voices of civil society is extremely important. The multi-stakeholder voices in this process, particularly adaptation, is extremely important, and therefore we are guided by an organization that represents civil society voices in the continent culture. We also have United Cities and local governments, the importance of sub-national actors and local level actors. We don't undermine the importance of those actors, and so they form part of our decision-making structures and representing the voices of sub-national actors. And at the same time, we have countries that represent regional balance, so a representative from to represent Southern Africa, representative of Egypt as the COP27 presidency at that time, Gabonese Republic representing the political champion, Republic of Liberia, and Republic of Kenya representing the regions as appropriate. And we have what we call the TSU, which is a technical support unit, which is responsible for the day-to-day operations and ensuring that implementation of our flagship programs continues and being hosted by UCLGA. And I feel part of that. TSU as the special advisor to the coordinator who will be joining us on the third day. Next slide, please. I think we are aware of our approach. Just to reiterate that we've got three key action areas, which I will elaborate further, and how this program came into being. Perhaps if I can just go to the next slide and explain that a little bit more, and because then it will show you where this program fits in the bigger structure and bigger scheme of things. So the first area is building knowledge, capacity, and ownership of all types of African stakeholders to accelerate adaptation action. So this action area looks at generating knowledge that is African owned, that is African endorsed and African utilized, and ensuring that African initiatives, such as the AAA, we are represented here with the AAA, are successful and are implemented. So knowledge coming from those processes, and I'll go into a little bit more detail around that, we are able to increase the capacity and build that knowledge. The second
action area is enabling highest level political advocacy to meet adaptation challenges. And that relates to the work that we do on negotiations, on adaptation, and on finance, adaptation finance in particular. For example, in Azerbaijan, through the AI, we supported the negotiations on the NCQG with regards to establishing a new quantifiable goal on adaptation and climate finance more generally. And the third action area where this fits is on developing and supporting high potential, large scale programs to translate political pledges into action work to meet adaptation challenges. And in here we have 6 flagship programs where we have the readiness program, where this program, where you're all under at this moment, this activity, as well as Adaptation Finance Academy, which I'll in a bit. We have the Food Security Accelerator. We have the Ecoverse, which is where you're sitting right now. We have the Adaptation Project Incubator for Africa. It's called APIA. And we have the coordinator sitting here, Kofi, who was introducing himself. We also have the 4th Industrial Revolution Climate Solutions Hub. So we have several flagship programs under this 3rd action area, which essentially looks at large-scale programs, because one of our mandates as the AI is to ensure that we have action on the ground through large-scale implementable, scalable programs to address adaptation challenges. Next slide, please. Just want to provide you a little bit more about those action areas that I talked about, and I won't go into all of them, but I'll just give you a bit of a preview of where years. Essentially, the report covers from an African perspective, our adaptation narrative, adaptation story as Africans, to say this is where we are when it comes to adaptation. These are the challenges, and this is what we think the solutions need to be. So, for example, Ecoverse is potentially one of the solutions that we see as to the challenges that we have on the continent when it comes to climate adaptation. And this report, what makes it so different is that the one holding the pen is an African. So we are telling the story from an African perspective. The interesting part about this report is, and we can even see this in some of the statistics that we are reading and so on, is even our adaptation literature and knowledge, the bulk of our adaptation literature and knowledge comes from elsewhere and not Africa. Even if you look at the IPCC that is represented in where knowledge is being created, Africa doesn't feature so prominently. So we think that the Africa State of Adaptation report presents sort of an opportunity for us as Africans to tell our story in the manner that we understand, and our solutions in how we see the problems moving forward will be resolved. So that will be produced. The next one, we had one in 2023. We are going to produce the next one in 2025 and launch it in Brazil at COP30. In addition to that, in terms of knowledge creation, we have what we call, we have established the Africa Climate Adaptation Expert Group. This is essentially providing a platform, just like how we're providing a platform here for NDAs to share their knowledge and experiences. We are providing a platform for adaptation experts. Right. The challenge from Africa, the challenge is when most of these, even if you look at the GCF proposals, when they start looking for adaptation experts, they look elsewhere, outside the continent, to come and do work for Africa. And we think it's extremely important to have a platform where we give an opportunity to African adaptation experts from the continent to come together, to share knowledge, and to be accessible. Because even if you start looking for an an expert for the continent. It's not easy to find. So we appreciate the efforts that the SSA is also doing with regards to this initiative and providing us with expertise from the continent that we can tap into and we can use to further our agenda, adaptation agenda. Next slide, please. Action area 2, I think this is quite straightforward. We support negotiations, we support the advocacy at the highest political level within the UNFCCC Adaptation Committee. Some of us, I was a member of the Adaptation Committee, the Adaptation Fund Board, and now we have the chair within the GCF, who is also from the continent, but also a representative of the adaptation initiative. And so this action area is our second area, which we work quite a lot in supporting the African group of negotiators push the Africa adaptation agenda in the negotiations. And I can talk whole day on this. This is what I do. So I'm happy to have this discussion outside for more details on this. I'm quite enthusiastic about this work. And then, of course, the last action area, as I talked about, is the action area number 3 around the flagships. And there's quite a few flagships, so I won't go into details about it, but just to give you an overview, we have also the adaptation projects incubator in Africa, APIA, which is funded by the EU, which kickstarted implementation in July in Rabat. This is really supporting direct access entities, so those that are actually accessing GCF support and supporting this initiative with SSA. And we have at least 8 DAEs that have signed MOUs through this project. And the current project pipeline that is being supported is in the tune of 195 million through this work, the work that we're doing. We also have and I said earlier in my morning intervention that we are having an activity next week, actually right here, Sandra, right here, where we're actually supporting and building capacity and training of direct access entities in further accessing GCF and developing project pipeline further. We also have the Adaptation Finance Academy, which has several elements in there. Again, SSA is supporting us through that, and they probably will take an opportunity to touch on that a little bit. And of course, the Pan-African Readiness Project, which is what you are all part of, where we have supported up to 23 countries and many countries. I can tell you this, when we meet as the African group of negotiators in the AGN reporting to AMSEN, many countries expressed interest in being part of this team. So I'm really, what I can say is it's really a privilege to be in this group as well, to receive the kind of support and share the knowledge that we all have from our countries with regards to accessing GCF support. And then again, there's 3 other, next slide, there's 3 other flagships. The Ecoverse is this one. I don't think this needs further elaboration. I think we can see the construction of the first village that is fully sustainable, which was undertaken by the local communities. So the principle of sustainability is really was really considered in this and fully implemented. And we have the Food Security Accelerator, which is funding to the tune of $60 million US coming from the US to translate projects in the context of food security. Next slide, please. Now, on the action area 3 under the Pan-African Readiness Project, I just want to focus a little bit on that because that's why we're here. As you know, the project is on track for finalization by end of 2024. having provided detailed technical and capacity building support for 23 countries. We've done provision of 22 technical training workshops in climate risks. I think you can see all the work that you've done, that has been done, as well as you are quite aware of the kind of work that has been done. But I just wanted to reflect that a little bit, that is here, and maybe have a little bit of a discussion on that in terms of the work that has been done, the macroeconomic modeling, the climate change risk assessment, the climate change impact assessment of key crops, and so on and so forth. So a lot of work has been done under this activity, and we are now hosting this Pan-African Forum on Mobilizing Climate Finance, which is what we're here doing today. So next steps, I won't touch too much on this. I think this is what you're going to be discussing the whole 3 days, and you'll come up with here are next steps on what you're going to do moving forward, but some elements for discussion here around how this will be the Adaptation Finance Academy. And I think I'll leave that to Sandra towards the closing of this meeting to get into more details around what the next steps would be. But I thought I should just share initial reflections on this activity. Next slide, please. Okay, I think this is the end. I just wanted to show that we have all these partners that have been supporting us through from the conceptualization to the development of the flagship programs, funding, and so on and so forth. There's various partners. I will not be able to go through them one by one, but this has been really one of those very interesting work where we have new organizations, governments, as you can see, coming on board to support this initiative, and of course, together with yourselves. And yeah, I'll stop here, and thank you very much, moderator.
Thank you very much, Kultum. That was a very exhaustive and detailed overview of what the AI has been doing. And that's quite good as it gets all of us up to date with some progress. And it's very good to see how this Pan-African readiness program is progressing quite well. And then what are the developments that are coming from that, including that academy, what we're doing. So thank you very much. I don't know if there are a couple of questions for Kultum. I know she's spoken a lot, but if you have a couple of questions, don't hesitate before we ask Elisa to tell us about the CASA program. So, okay, yes, Monsieur Aguignon.
Thank you so much, for this nice presentation. This initiative, the perspectives that are acquired, it is to congratulate. We are very grateful. And with we are grateful with the perspective that the achievement that you really attract our attention, our attention. It is the training. It is not only the capacity building, but we are isolated, but the reinforcement of capacity. From this point, I would like to have a question. For this capacity building, to be in partnership with universities, so that at the end we can have documents that with certifications that will become certification that will help us. The first, that is the first aspect of intervention. The second is, I think that is a continental initiative which has been, it started from the African Union. What is the approach? I know that the African Union is working with the financial groups. What is the bridge? What is the bridge between this organization? Because the African Union capitalize everything, deals with everything that is regarded to adaptation. What is the bridge of this project regarding to child which is that there are a lot of partnership that we want to appreciate to see the regional at the regional levels. Can we work on this approach so that the implementation, as we are talking about agriculture, so that this fulfill can be part of the economic ship so that we can talk about Malawi 1, Malawi 2, or city around that and where the development is underway. So how can we use this partnership that this financial organization can talk about ownership?
Merci, monsieur.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Agremion.
Des autres questions?
We have two other questions. Two questions, and after that, we will ask you to answer.
Tant pis, Canaï.
To follow what has been said, what's the relationship between the AI and the African Union Commissions? Because the two are connected to the African Union. So what is the synergy between the two? How do they work in a way that the other finances the other, gives us financial support to the other? Because I see in the partnerships or the partners, that's it. I feel that we as NGOs, we supported some partners to get support finance in the climate change. So that means that in the partnership, we should talk also about NGOs because we give a support to some partners so that they can mobilize resources for the AI. So I think we should understand this and see how each country can play its role or each country can play its role. Other two interveners. Thank you for the presentation. I have two questions. The first is regarding the program of PIR which was presented. The program in connection with the industrial revolution. When we know the challenges of our countries in terms of industrial revolution, I want to know what are the scope, the phase of action, what are the activities that this program is supporting in this sense. And the second question is regarding the group of experts to adaptation to climate change. I can see that there are 20 experts. Can we have ideas of countries who have their representatives at the level of this group? And also, if a country will be part of this experts group, what are the procedures? What should be done to have access or to be a member of this group of experts? And there was one last intervention. Yeah, thank you. Congratulations for the presentation of. In all the presentation, I didn't hear speaking about climate vulnerability in the policy of infrastructures, in terms of infrastructures. For instance, a lot of roads infrastructures. You know that in general, in Africa, you don't have many industries, but you have roads, particularly coastal countries who supply the Sahel countries. You have a very high developed transport systems. So the roads infrastructures make us will contribute to the climate change. Why? Because when the states conditions of the infrastructures are not acceptable, the emission of gasoline, some countries that go slowly and which makes a lot of smoke, and this has an effect on the climate. So we need to have some tools to be able to assess and maintain the infrastructures. So in the presentation of Madam, I didn't see the taking into account of the infrastructures in general, especially buildings and all the road infrastructures. Thank you so much.
and remarks. We are very happy if you can address those. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for those questions. I think many of them will be addressed during these 3 days, for sure. Yeah, particularly something around, maybe even the last one around infrastructure. One of the key principles of the AI is to be country driven. And countries have got their own priorities on how they see is a priority for their country. So I come from Botswana. My main priority is water. It's a desert. I don't have any surface water. I was telling yesterday, Kabishi, that why don't you just send me some water, please? All my water is from groundwater. So my priority for the country is water. Another country's priority for the country could be like you're highlighting. And it's really important that you identify ensure that those priorities translate into projects, into pipeline projects. So all of those priorities that you've highlighted are important for the continent as a whole. Maybe if I can link this to the discussion that we're having in the negotiations, infrastructure settlements and informal settlements in particular was highlighted as an important priority for Africa, as an area that would need to be funded and supported. And agriculture and all of that. There were 7 priorities that we highlighted, and that in particular is an extremely important element. So again, we are guided by country priorities, and it's you as countries that identify those priorities and then work with organizations like SSA to ensure that these priorities are translated into bankable projects, accessing funding through the mechanisms within the UNFCCC. So extremely important point to raise. I think I'll just go down all the way up. The question before that was about the expert group. So this expert group, the establishment of the expert group was again based on the need of adaptation experts don't have one place where you can find them. If GCF is looking for an expert, they can't just go to a website and say, I want this person. They will look everywhere. They can't find them. So that was the first reason for that. The second reason was that a lot of the negotiations, as you know, while negotiations have to go in parallel, climate change negotiations in parallel with implementation, because it's the negotiation decisions that support implementation. For example, the $3 million that came about for the GCF to develop your NAPs, that came from negotiations. So negotiations are also extremely important. And there's some guidance that is produced in the negotiations where adaptation experts don't feature from Africa. And so this group was primarily to address implementation, but also negotiations on adaptation so that we ensure that there is these two speak to one another. The decisions inform the implementation. So we just started, so it was an idea, not like e-commerce. It was an idea where Ecoverse, Sandra, you said is 20% done. We are 20% done too. So this number of experts that are in the group was from just our first meeting. We are going to do a call experts in the next meeting that's going to take place again in 2025. Who knows? Maybe we could come here. We never know. If we think this is an opportunity again. So we keep calling for experts to come, and I'll also invite you, and you are an expert in your own rights. As an MBA, you wear that hat, but you're an expert. This is why you're doing the work that you're doing. And so this is continuing. We are building it as we go. We, at the end of this, when we say we fully established the ACXG, we would have all countries represented, all 54 countries represented in this group. The fourth industrial revolution, at the moment, we don't, the idea, again, it's an idea. An idea comes from a problem. So this is like a solution that we think is important. And one of it is AI. AI is everywhere. AI, there's ChatGPT. You can ask ChatGPT anything. These days, I go to Google and ChatGPT is already there. I'm like, what in my Google search? Never, so now AI is there. So how can we use AI to improve activity as we're fighting climate change, as we're addressing climate change, as we're addressing adaptation? So there are many solutions where we can use AI. For productivity, but also just to improve, to deal with climate change. When it comes to climate information, how climate information is generated in a timeless manner to reach the small scale farmer and to be able to provide that kind of information that can actually help a small scale farmer in an area that is dealing with severe climate extremes. Just one point, and I'll hand over to Sandra because there's a lot of questions I think she may also provide a bit more light on. And then the final one is the link with the AU. I think that's an important one. Yes, the AUC sits in our board, our steering committee. So in our decision-making processes, they sit and they guide the decision-making that is happening. Secondly, we are implementing the AU climate change strategy. So they don't implement, say, they have organizations and initiatives, and you also talked about the 3 initiatives that were also launched at COP21. And these are some of the mechanisms that the AU uses in order to implement its climate change strategy. And we work, of course, with them a lot. And they are the ones who, the AU, not the Commission, the AU is the one that gives us the mandate. AUC is the one that ensures that we deliver on that mandate. So I'll stop here and ask Sandra to comment on a few of the elements that she can highlight. Thanks.
Thanks, Gautam. Just want to add a point on the fourth industrialization revolutions initiative. So one of the idea that we wanted to pilot will be presented actually this afternoon to you is a development of a climate tool supported also under the program with CASA and Tetra Tech to easier the work we do for climate rationale. It's so complex, data downloading, data processing, modeling, demonstrating the scientific basis for climate justifications. So one thing we are trying to do is to develop a tool that will enable us to automate that process, that repetitive process. So this afternoon, we will show you a preview, which is basically the template and the idea, how we think it and how it can serve the purpose of easing the work we do to provide climate rationale for GCF funded projects. So just one of application in that area, and there will be more to come.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm aware that there are probably more questions, but then, like Kultum said, she's open to continue discussions later on. So let's thank her again. Thank you so much, Kultum. Thank you very much. And since this morning, we've been hearing about CASA. But some of us may not know exactly what CASA is. But we're lucky that we have with us Ms. Elisa Burrows, who will be then introducing us to what CASA is, and then also inform us on how that gets involved and collaborating with the rest of the program. So, Elisa, to you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I think I'm the last thing standing between and lunch, so I will try to the context here, why we're here this week with you all. So I'm Elisa Burrows, I'm the Senior Partnership Manager, and my colleague Hannah Blair, our Communications Manager, is joining me this week. We are with the USAID-funded Climate Adaptation Support Activity, which we refer to as CASA. Next slide. So CASA is a USAID-funded program that is the purpose is to advance impactful climate adaptation mainstreaming, programming, and scaling to improve the resilience of people and systems. So what does that mean? We primarily do three things. First is providing actionable information to USAID. So we provide research and data analysis that gives them the information they need to better inform their programming and better inform how to integrate adaptation or climate financing into their existing or upcoming programming. We also provide strategic forward-looking adaptation and resilience approaches. So guidance to USAID on how to do transformational adaptation, how to create sustainable and long-lasting change through their work and through their programs. And then the third thing we do is supporting capacity building, convening, and partnership development. And that's where our work with AAI and our work with SSA falls under. Next slide. So we are a project, which means that we have a limited term, a finite duration. We're a 5-year project. We are just starting our third year. And so we will continue through September of 2027. We are managed and primarily funded out of the USAID Bureau for Resilience, Environment, and Food Security. But we are what is called a buy-in mechanism. So we can receive funding and mandates, scopes of work from bureaus across the agency or from USAID missions themselves. So specific country missions can buy into our program. We're implemented by a company called Tetra Tech. So you've heard Sandra refer to us as Tetra Tech. You will, if you get our business cards, you will see Tetra Tech on them. They are just the company that holds the prime contract for the implementation of this project with USAID. And we are currently implementing 20 unique work streams. So I said that we're a buy-in mechanism. That means that we've had 20 different, we have 20 different little mini projects happening within our larger project. Next slide. This slide lists all of those. I won't read them all, but I wanted to have this in here just to highlight the diversity of the work that CASA is doing. So we have work in food systems and agriculture. We have work in urban adaptation and disaster risk management. We have some work in climate financing and developing climate finance roadmaps for USAID. And some work in health systems and malaria or early warning systems. And then, of course, we have our support to the African Adaptation Initiative, which I'll talk about a little more. Next slide. So with AAI, USAID has committed to supporting the mobilization of $100 million in adaptation financing over the 2-year period of our partnership. And we're doing that primarily through partnering with AAI's implementing partners, 2 of them. So Sustainable Solutions for Africa, which you all know. And with them, we are supporting their capacity building efforts and their technical assistance to increase access to international financing. And then we also are supporting United Cities and local governments for Africa. And with them, we're supporting the startup and operationalization of the African Territorial Trade and Investment Agency. And this is a new adaptation fund that's really targeting subnational level funding. Next slide. So with SSA, the details of that partnership, we are supporting, we provided funding and support to support their customized technical assistance with NDAs and DAEs. We are supporting the Adaptation Finance Academy, which is providing really hands-on experience and training for financial modeling and climate modeling and the understanding of the GCF funding requirements. We are supporting the development of this climate analysis toolkit, which Sandra just mentioned. So the automation of the necessary modeling and analysis needed to put together strong funding proposals. And then we're also supporting some of the business plan development and the sustainability plan development around the Ecoverse. Next slide. And so why are we here this week? We're really very excited to be here. And we are here to just listen and learn from you all. We want to hear about what is happening in your own countries. We want to hear about your specific financing needs and what sort of project themes are being developed for adaptation and resilience projects. We want to hear about what you see as the gaps in international finance with that. And then for those of you who may already worked with SSA closely, how is that assistance helping you to address some of those challenges? And then we want to hear about the technical capacity gaps that you're facing either in your own the NDAs that you're representing or with any DIEs you may be working with in your countries. And then again, how SSA is sort of helping to fill that. We will take all of this information and share it with USAID in the hopes that they take some of those learnings and some of those challenges and think about that as they continue to design and expand their support in those climate strategy goals that I mentioned in my opening remarks, which are 150 billion mobilized, which is a lot of money, and then also 500 million people with improved access or improved resiliency. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisa. So what I do keep in mind from what you said and what I've been struck by is information for action. And so hopefully what we all will be contributing to here by the end of the forum will be to improve the information that we do have. Now, Lisa didn't mention, I understand between Russia and you. However, if there are a couple of questions or observations for Lisa, please don't hesitate. Any questions or? Good. We're really hungry. All right. Okay. Je vous en prie, Madame Mary. Okay.
So thank you for the presentation and the information shared. I would like to have a precision on something. Beyond the collaboration with two structures that accompany the NGAs, namely the SSA and the AAI, can countries directly benefit from the support of CASA? The countries in a bilateral way get profit from your supports. Thank you. I have a question in the same line with Madam Miss Mary. I would like to add to her question. No, I would like to know what are the other countries in Africa where the USAID brings support in terms of activities through CASA program, and maybe what are the examples of successes that you can share with us?
Merci bien.
Thank you. Do you have other questions or other remarks before we give the floor back to Elisa to react? Thank you. Hello.
So questions, thank you.
Okay, the first one was, can countries benefit from CASA? So CASA itself does not have a mechanism to provide direct financing or direct support to to NDAs or to DAEs, but the support is coming through our support with SSA, right? So we're funding some of their technical assistance and capacity building and working with you all. And then the second question about what other countries are getting support via CASA. Again, CASA is a global project, and so we are based in Washington, D.C. We're funded out of the USAID headquarters there. And so a lot of what we do is at the global level or at a higher level in advising USAID on their programming. But a lot of countries, a lot of African countries have their own USAID mission in country, and a lot of those missions do have climate priorities and do have climate adaptation related projects that may have direct support to local entities. So I would encourage you all to look up what the missions in your respective countries are funding, and Hannah and I can help you.
That have given us these very good updates on both what AI and what CASA do. And without further ado, wait, Dr. Kamae? Yes, please. Let's see what's
like finance and the level of Nigeria. So there's no project that goes through the state, but it's NGOs and okay. So let me start. In this case, you could also benefit directly from the CASA project program. Thank you.
Quickly, that I understand that is a challenge in a lot of places, and that's historically how USAID has operated has been to fund larger NGOs, especially international NGOs, and they've kind of set up a systems for themselves where it's hard to break in if you don't have that experience in writing a USAID proposal. It's kind of like the GCF, right? Like it's complicated. You have to understand the process. You have to understand the language that they